All right, we're live.
Hello, I'm
Hello.
here. Are
Good to see you, Mr. Daffis. All
good
right,
to
we're
see
going to get this started. Wanted to
to
welcome
get started.
everybody to the Wednesday, November 13th Public Safety Committee meeting for the Township of Maplewood. Just to quickly go through the agenda tonight, we'll be starting off with our Office of Emergency Management update by our Business Administrator, Mr. Wary, followed by our South Essex Fire Department Operations Report by Committeeman DeLuca. Chief Sally will take on the police report and narrative for September, October, and then we have a few discussion items on the block. Things that we discussed last month and a few things that popped up through the conversations happened since our last meeting. Uh, Next will be our public comment if we have folks that have things that need to share with us or questions to ask. Um, Unless there is a need for an executive session, we make space for it, but we may not use it. And then we will adjourn to meet next time for our December 11th, 2024 public safety meeting. So to kick things off, let's start, Mr. Wary, if you would start off with our OEM report.
Thank you, Ms. Cripe. We are going to Winchester Gardens this Friday for a tabletop exercise that they are holding for emergency management. We'll be joined by Mr. DeLuca, who is attending. So it was nice of him to extend the invitation, and looking forward to that training. I've also been working with the police department for additional training for our CERT members. I know they're eager to stay involved and be active, and so we're looking at the catalog from the police academy that'll be released this month, and we'll schedule them for training in the new year. I know there were questions about fire. So I spoke with our fire chief, and I responded to a couple questions that people had on OEM and the township's response to fire. We do have evacuation plans. Those are the responsibility of the police department to enact. And we, in speaking with the fire chief, don't see much cause where they would be used. Obviously, large tracts of wooded property we have are up in the reservation, and so he's keeping an eye on that. He is said if a fire would break out that was in a wooded area, that it would be turned over to the DEP fire service. Forest Fire Service, and so at that point, SEFD would be assisting them. Unfortunately, it is a practice that we have become accustomed to in this area over the last 2 months, unfortunately, and so SEFD has not responded to any wildfires, but a lot of the departments around us have been dispatched to them by the state, and SEFD is held back to help provide cover for those areas that have responded. I know Chief Alvarez had responded with other fire companies that he's involved with, and so unfortunately, that the state has a pretty good response to these. We have been putting out information to the public about the ban on open burns. So that means no charcoal grills, no bonfires outside, and we're also concerned about vehicles parking on leaf piles. We had a fire earlier this week in Maplewood from a vehicle that had parked on top of a leaf pile, and at least for some time was running, and it ignited, and that the car was a total loss. So want to remind the public to be cautious when parking in the street, as well as there's a lot of very, very dry leaves on the ground. It's a situation we'll continue monitoring, and keep making the public aware of precautions that they can take, and should any situation arise, we're prepared to take action. That is the OEM report.
Yeah. Overall, do you feel that people have been responsive to the notifications that they can't use their fire pits and various things? Or is there more that we can do?
I mean, there's always more we want to do, and so we'll continue to put out messaging. I think we don't have 100% compliance. We've received reports of even after the state publicized its ban and the township put out information that there were residences with open fires. We continue to encourage residents who observe open fires or dangerous activity, even regarding fire, the opportunity for a fire to start, to report that to the police department so we can take action, in the interest of public safety more than even enforcement. And there are things where you may not understand that there's what you're doing could start a fire, but the large fire they had down closer to the shore, the shotgun fire was started from at a rifle range where there was a tracer round being used, and that it caused the grass to become ignited, and that spread to other areas, right? And so, there are times when you may not realize that the whatever action you're taking could start a fire, but people need to be very, very cautious about what they do, and we'll continue to put out the message about that.
Thank you.
Patrick, what about the water preservation rules? Are there any?
In regard to wildfires, I mean, the chief.
Water usage.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Because the chief, him and I talked about how the water shortage or water crisis may affect firefighting. So at this time, that's not a concern he had. Separate from that, today the state increased its watch on water. And so we will put out tomorrow information about that, restrictions on water, recommendations on how you can reduce your water usage. I know that New Jersey American Water had put out an email today to all of their to everybody in their areas, and I received that personally. I know the state's putting out messaging. We'll put out our messaging starting tomorrow, and that goes on top of messaging we had done previously, just about reducing water usage. But now, obviously, with the state increasing the how they classify our water shortage, we'll take that as another opportunity to remind the public.
Yeah, especially with regard to the automatic sprinkler systems people have. First of all, this is not a time of year to be using sprinklers on your lawn. The lawns are going dormant. There's no reason to water them. I think that just needs to be highlighted because there are a lot of residents who just have the automatic sprinklers go off at 6, 7 in the morning, and it's just a waste. It's a waste for them, and it's not a good time to be doing it, and it's unnecessary. So I'd like that to be included, if you could, into any restrictions that are put out.
It will be, yeah. And that was one of the recommendations that the DEP put out in their messaging, and something that we will copy in our messaging.
Excellent. Thank you. Does anyone have any further questions for Mr. Wary? All right, move on, Mr. DeLuca.
Thank you. So we have a year, well, January through the end of September. So 9 months of statistics for the SCFD. There were 156 fires. Most of those, almost over half of those, are cooking fires. 39, which is 1% of all incidents that the fire department reports to, are building fires. Many of those are out of town. By far, 48% plus are rescue emergency medical services. EMS calls, we're sending out the ambulances. It's a good thing is we don't have a lot of fires here. We do fight fires in other towns. That's all mutual aid. That's an important aspect of firefighting, is that you help your neighbor and they help you. Last month, or I'm sorry, in September, we went to 3 building fires, one in West Orange, one in Irvington, one in Orange. We were in a cover assignment. That means we go sit in a firehouse in East Orange. And we were dispatched to Milburn Fire, but we were canceled en route. So overall, for the whole year to date, from January to the end of September, there were 3,658 incidents. And we're on par to reach about 5,000, which is what we expected.
Of the incidents of the cooking fires, how do we have a metrics on how many of them were notifications either by calling 911 or by the alarm system? We're just trying to get a gauge of if folks have smoke detectors and working order in homes and if they're doing the job.
I don't think we have that, no. And most people don't have hardwired smoke detectors. They're batteries, so it wouldn't go right to the fire department.
Okay.
I also don't know where they are, I don't know, and I don't know the demographics of who's calling, but we do get a significant number of um, cooking fires. Luckily, when the firefighters get there, either it's under control or they get it under control and then it's a smoke evacuation. So, but the whole idea is to get there soon and try to make it as limited as possible.
Does that include like barbecue grills? That,
It could, yeah. Why, are you thinking of it?
thinking of barbecue
Yeah,
in my
thinking of
grill?
barbecuing tonight?
Not right now.
I just
Not now,
finished
that's
my
right.
fish.
That's right. Don't go out there now.
It's cold.
Thank you,
That's it.
Mr. DeLuca. Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. DeLuca? Yep. All right, Chief Sally.
Okay, September monthly report. Robberies, year to date, we have, up to September, we have 8. Aggravated assaults, 11. Burglaries, 24. Thefts, 154. And auto thefts, 40 year to date. I'm looking at the UCR report, and up to now, assaults are the same as last year. So we had 55 last year, we have 55 this year. Same scenario, domestic violence is most of it, because we cleared most of them. Most of the assaults are known to the victim. We just graduated 5 volunteers for the domestic violence response team yesterday. So we do have 10 total. So they'll be training with the ones that are already experienced. So we have more to address that issue. Our UCR robberies are down, and they've been trending down for the last couple of years. However, our burglaries are trending up, and it's the same style burglary I've been talking about for months now. Going to the home, taking the vehicle. We just recently had 2 on Monday, Sunday into Monday morning. Other agencies have helped us in those 2 incidents where they actually located the vehicle that was involved, a short pursuit, and then it was terminated. But other agencies are active in assisting us in these types of burglaries, and these other agencies are also getting these types of burglaries, and we assist them as well. As I said before, we have made arrests, and some of these are active cases, but we do have leads, and we do have some video from certain different jurisdictions that we think is the same people. And also we have fingerprints and other things, so we're looking into that. We also put out our officers in those areas, hopefully to, and we have deterred some. I mean, we had cars take off on us and leave the area, and so we're still working on that. Thefts are up as well, and that's your package thefts and shoplifting. Motor vehicle thefts, for some reason, just the straight motor vehicle theft, not the burglary style that I was talking about, have been trending down since a couple of years. So that's still going down. So that's pretty much the UCR report up to date.
Chief, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So I feel like if we can put some information out on what the targeted types of automobiles are, that people could take extra precautions with regard to keeping, if there's a certain type of car, whether it's a BMW, whether it's an electric car, whatever, that they're breaking in to the house to get the keys and then stealing the car, right? That's the typical MO.
Yeah, I think we did that over a year ago. We put it back out. The type of cars.
Yeah, I think
Right.
I think it would be useful because we do have one household who's dealing with multiple attempts and successful attempts, and that's, I don't know, I just feels like if there could be something that could be done either to help them protect themselves, this particular household, but also others, should they be putting their keys somewhere that's not so obvious, or is that invite those perpetrators to come further into the house, or like, I don't know the answers to these questions, so I guess that's my I think it would be helpful to get information out to the public to how they can protect themselves and what types of cars, what brands, what makes, and all that stuff. I think we should put that out to the public for some assistance.
Yes, we can definitely put out general information. Some of these cases are unique. I don't want to dig too much into it. That some things, is easier for them to get to it, to a vehicle possibly. But we'll put out general information regarding safety tips and the types of cars they're looking for.
Yeah, I just think that would be helpful.
Right.
Whatever you can put out in a general fashion. And then to those residents who we know have been targeted, if you will, whatever we can do to help them
Yeah, I reached
protect
out
themselves.
I reached out to a few of them, and we talked about different things that we could possibly do.
Great.
I had a couple things. Just wanted to ask real fast. I know last year you had put out a one sheet that I'd seen on like the windows of the 7-Eleven and the Wawa, reminding people, because now that the weather is getting colder, to not leave their cars running. Could you guys reissue that?
Yeah.
As I've started to see more and more cars
Yeah.
in my morning coffee running.
Yeah, I just saw Irvington Police Department just put something out that was pretty good. So yeah, we'll put that out.
Yeah, let's borrow theirs. And also, would you be able to inform the public specifically what the DVT does?
Right, Domestic Violence Response Team, yes.
Because I know some folks were thinking
Yeah,
if that when the phone call comes in and everything, if they should call the social worker, if they just call 911,
Yeah,
but that there's other folks
yeah,
that are involved.
usually they work when a victim is coming in to headquarters. We reach out to them so they don't have to tell everything to the officer. They're volunteers. They'll come out, speak to them, and pretty much they provide services to the victim of domestic violence. All the service we take care of all the complaints and the restraining orders and everything else, but they take care of the resources they might have. They can give the victim so that they're able to manage and do what they have to do at that point. So, but it was very. It took a while to get these 5 because the training is pretty extensive. But they retired. They graduated yesterday, so that's good. We got more people, and they're pretty much on call. So whenever we have an incident like this, we call them. They come in and they assist.
I think it would be helpful to get the information out for domestic violence victims, and to have it as a static piece of information on our website or the police website to assist just numbers because I have a family member who experienced the same, and it's a long process. It's been few years and it's still an issue for her life. So I think it would be helpful to have that as just a static piece of information on our website.
Yes.
Right. And I also think with the idea around having folks feel comfortable reaching out to law enforcement for support like this, it's a good, I don't want to say optics thing, but letting the folks know that the police department has put an extra effort into providing this service for our township, for our residents, so that they feel more comfortable reaching out for support when they need it
Right.
and not feeling like they have to keep it to themselves.
Yeah. And Pat, I think if that could be, you could make note of these few things to bring to our the public information officer, and that can be scheduled when there's not a lot of, nothing urgent going out. That would be a good time to put out information just to inform the public.
And I would say even just this time of now, because we're going into holiday season and with
Yeah.
all that stress,
Yeah.
people tend to behave badly sometimes when they're stressed like that. And the holidays are tough for some people.
And usually when people have holidays or days off, when they're together are a lot longer.
Yeah.
You know, more instances.
So I just want to chime in here a little bit. I agree with the mayor 100%. I think it's really important to have this information made available as an important resource to folks, and it be something that's like a longstanding, somewhat permanent tag on our website and on the police site, because this is a big concern, and it's a bigger concern that we're aware of because a lot of people are victims in silence in this. They don't reach out. It's embarrassing, it's stigmatizing, and it's downright dangerous to do so. So I agree 100%. I want to thank you, Chief, for giving us an update that we have some new volunteers and they've been fully trained. This is such an incredible resource to have here directly. And I want to just add that the team does have the capacity to loop in our social workers, right? Because they can be helpful to victims in other ways. Like, for instance, with relocation services, because they'll be able to connect them to our street outreach and homelessness prevention vendor who knows about relocation services for DV victims. And that's often like the biggest part of this, like, because you can't find another place to go to and you don't have any help in that, you stay in this dangerous situation over and over again at great harm to yourself and your family. So I just wanted to kind of offer that about connecting all the great dots that we have here in Maplewood.
Yep.
Thank you, Ms.
Agreed.
Davis.
Totally.
Thank you. All right. Is there any other questions for Chief Sally? Before we move to the discussion items. All right.
Chief,
My
I'm
apologies.
sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr.
Aye.
DeLuca.
Chief, is there anything you need to talk to us about in close that is sensitive in nature?
I don't have anything.
I have something, but we can wait until the end.
All right. So we'll move on to the discussion items. Mr. DeLuca, thank you so much for forwarding on that that metric, the chart that you sent earlier this afternoon in regards to some of the shift responses for things. I don't know if I could pull it up. I'm trying to get it real fast, but did you want to talk about that or have the chief?
The chief can talk about it because I was under the impression, Chief, that we were doing better when I got the September report and put them up against the previous months. It didn't look like we were doing all that much better.
Okay, so I'll go for October.
All right, I'll share my screen real
I
fast.
got the information in front of me. So
Okay.
we actually started kicking in our details at the end of September to present. So we conducted 162 total multi-officer details. So that means 2 or more officers were doing these details. And this was what I was explaining last meeting, where we had supervisors working with officers on these details. I was speaking to Mr. Riri earlier today, And I was telling I drove past one of the details that we had on Prospect, where we had two officers conducting the detail, and there's a lot of traffic out there. So I think mainly Valley Street due to construction, Prospect. I mean, it was backed up all the way going back, and so I think that affects some of the speeding at certain times, definitely. But it's it's a lot of traffic and a lot of backup. With that said, during that time frame of the month, we did have 36 speeding tickets issued, and we had about 37 warnings issued for speeding. So that's just speeding alone. We've had we focused our details on Parker Avenue and of course on Prospect, but also we did the four-way parking signs, where we've had some improvement. Failure to obey, stop or yield. We've issued 58 summonses during that period for that. That's not including those are summonses, but we also issued it was let me see. Those are actually summonses, and then we had also warnings in those locations, and it was approximately about 10 to 15 warnings for that same offense. So I have tickets issued for all kinds of different things during that time period. We've had, as far as summonses during that time period, we had approximately 246 summonses issued for a variety of different offenses. And the warnings are of course a lot more as we're trying to move to the summonses, but it was 463 warnings issued for different various infractions. The warnings, when they get issued a warning, it stays in the system. So we do see the warning. So if an officer stops that vehicle again, they see the warning and they can issue the ticket. So that's so 162 multi-officer details, but also we've done single details outside of that as well. So that's where we're at for the month.
What are warnings issued for? Or how do you determine, I guess the question, how do you determine the warning?
So officers have discretion on what if they want to write the ticket, any ticket, or they write a summons or they write a warning. So it's the officer's discretion. I've and that's pretty much it. They have the discretion to choose which one they want to issue. But the stop's still made, the warning's given, and that's the process, and it's in the system. So if that vehicle does it again, officer can see that's a warning, and then up it from there.
Chief, do we have any stats or anything? Do we have info on parking violation summonses issued?
Yeah, we do.
I asked.
I was focusing more on the moving violations. I don't have the parking, but we do have them.
Yeah. I mean, I thought I saw it before, but I didn't delve in to try to find it in any past reports before asking this question. Because we've received some information of difficulties over at Parker and Prospect with parking. Some of it's enforcement, and some of it is something we need to look at from where we want to allow parking. So if you could take a look in that area for conflicts of people parking longer than they should or parking illegally, and starting to enforce that, because we can't,
Right.
we can't engineer everything. So it'd be nice to have some enforcement over there.
Yeah. And our details jump around. So we're Burnett and Newark, we're on Baker, we're on so we get complaints from various areas, and that's where we do our details. It's complaints, accidents, And, so that's where we focus on.
Yeah,
So Chief, can I go back to the warnings for a moment?
Yes.
Do we capture demographics of the people that we give warnings to? And let me tell you where I'm going. There's some criticism out there about the way in which discretion is applied. That either we have unconscious bias or conscious bias, that certain folks get tickets and certain folks get warnings. I share your concerns. In looking at these numbers, the warnings sort of equal the moving violations. And I'm a little concerned with, and I don't know this, but I'm a little concerned without the data that we're not really able to measure whether there's any problem with, how we're applying the discretion.
Yeah, that's something I have to look into to see if that's
I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
right. But
You've heard
all-
this you've heard about this in the field, I'm sure.
But the I would say the warnings and the tickets are in the same locations, so it's not
Well, but it could be different drivers, right?
Yeah, it's more
Right.
demographics of the drivers.
right. Yeah, that's something I have to look into.
I think that's a really good point. So, Chief, we're able to track and enter and collect demographics now in Cody, right? Or whatever the new system is, the upgraded version
Enforces.
of that.
Enforces.
Enforces, right?
Right.
So we are able to track demographics, right?
Yes. So yes.
Okay, so so we can actually run a report and have a look at that, and this may be something that we can talk to the community board on police about. And I know Emily's here from the community board tonight as a liaison to this meeting, so we can kind of take a look at that and help do some analysis through the board.
Dean, that's only if we're capturing demographics on the warning.
True.
Right,
True.
Chief? We may just be taking a name. I don't
Well,
know
you said
what
that the
to take.
warnings are listed, you check their records, it's there, so I think the driver's license
Yeah.
number, I mean, that's how
Yes,
you would
yes,
have to
it's-
track the warning, whether it
It's
got
in the
one or
same
not.
as a summons, but I'll look deeper into it. But I think it's the same.
Yeah, I think it might be the same too as someone who's received a warning. Oh, as much driving as I
Naughty.
do on the turnpike, and I didn't think that it was the same until I had to change insurance recently and realized, oh, hot damn, the warning is almost as bad as a ticket, because it is something that hangs out there and they know who you are. So, but yeah, let's confirm some of this. It's important.
Awesome. Well, I know last month we were having conversations in regards to pedestrian safety and particularly around commuter times. And one of the issues that we ultimately came to is getting cones out and putting them on Prospect to try to encourage folks to pay attention to pedestrians in the crosswalks and additional police presence. I know it's only been a month or hasn't even really been a full month, but what has the response been for not only the cones, besides them being run over, which is what I see all the time, but in general, maybe of how people are behaving in those intersections?
I haven't heard much of anything about the cones or anything, but I have heard. Of course, everybody is happy about the crossing guard there during school. But again, the times I drove through there, it's so backed up that I think it's due to the Valley Street traffic that it slowed everything down.
So it's a little too early to see if there's been a huge improvement other than to like community morale.
Yeah, and I haven't heard any complaints from I hear traffic complaints in other places in town, but I haven't heard recently complaints on Prospect itself.
Okay. It's definitely a change from previously.
So just to fill you in, we talked about this morning in Engineering Public Works. So the big picture is that Prospect Street is scheduled to be repaved in 2026. And in 2025, which is next year, we are going to work with our traffic consultants to discuss whether or not we want to change the orientation of Prospect to A, include bike lanes, B, and no parking, B, to do bump outs at certain intersections or all intersections with pedestrian signs. So those conversations will happen in 2025. And we'll put together a plan that we're going to be using state money so that there's a little bit of a delay, a process. You have to get approval by the state. So in the meantime, we're going to maintain the cones. I did ask Mr. Kittner to get a better caliber or uniformity of the cones, because right now I know you're using some high cones, some lower cones, but just get a uniformity of the cones so it looks a little more professional than what it looks like now. But it's not the permanent solution, but that's certainly the solution right now. It also might include doing some four-way stops on Prospect. So that's all going to be discussed, as I said, in 2025, with the actual work being done in 2026.
Thank you. All right. This afternoon, actually, we had forwarded to us a question regarding the additional parking, and Mayor Adams brought it up earlier in regards to the parking enforcement, in particular at the intersection of Prospect and Parker. There is going to be a groundbreaking in a new building, potentially put in the location where the current Jewish Center is, replacement for it, and making sure that folks are aware that that area is already rife with speeding and tons of kids going to the high schools trying to get there safely. We have a student who is visually impaired who lives 2 houses in from there. So there's already a lot of orientation things that have to happen in the morning in general, but to have tacked on top of it, parking illegally regularly in areas that are actually well painted, because I spend more than my fair share amount of time at the ethical center. And there tends to always be a car parked there for some reason. So again, areas of enforcement that maybe had gotten dropped off the list or maybe hadn't been seen as priorities, if that could be added to that hit list, maybe for patrol, to spend some time going around there and checking to make sure folks are not parking in the yellow striped lines, because it's already difficult enough to get around there. And then with additional construction happening and new usage of the space, it's just going to add to a problem. The habit's been established. If we can break people of it before it gets too late, that would be wonderful. Last month we brought up bike safety in regards to that program that the police department used to offer with the licensing and learning how to ride a bike properly, checking your bike for various things. I know that Detective Sergeant Reed usually does all those things and everything. Has there been a conversation? Have we started that planning for next year? Because it does seem from the tone of the responses we've gotten from the community that that is a need, as well as something that they would really like to have come back.
Yes, Detective Scott Reeves has reached out to Missy at the rec department to try to get he has a few tentative dates to do at DeHart Park. The organization we use is called Easy Rider. They come out, they set up a course. They show the proper way to ride the bike, everything, obstacle course and all that. And then we still have about 45 bike helmets here in various sizes that we can hand out. So we've done it in the past. We also have done assisted with the middle school and the Week of Respect, where we assisted them with a bike route through Maplewood, and so we've done it. We're ready once. We're looking for April to do the bike rodeo in DR Park. So we have a few dates, and Easy Rider has already spoken to about it.
All right. The final thing I've listed for discussion is kind of not a repeat of what you've put out earlier. I know that Mr. Wary in last week's weekly update that goes out and everything, a lot of information went out in regards to how to protect yourself during the holiday season and things that you could do. But one of the items that I didn't see on there that I know ends up being a problem, particularly here in the Northeast, is space heaters and carbon monoxide. From folks having things in their houses. Is there any messaging that we can put together or put out also to the public to let them know that, I mean, you really shouldn't be using space heaters, but if you do, here are the safe ways in which you can, just to alleviate issues in the future of folks burning themselves or their houses down?
Look for information to put out, absolutely.
And I don't know if Ms. Davenport had mentioned, but we're trying to get some bigger signage for those cold weather numbers, what you call her warming hotline for our unhoused and underhoused residents, so that people have a place they can call and have it more prominently displayed in the libraries, on the bulletin boards, as well as at the fridge and in places where some of our unhoused residents go to stay warm during the colder months. Does anyone have anything they would like to bring up in discussion that hasn't already been covered? Looks like a no. All right, so at this moment we're opening up to public comment. If there's anybody who would like to, that's present in the meeting, would like to comment publicly, please. Well, Mr. Wary, you got it.
Just one member of the public, Emily Schwartz, who is here representing CBOP. I can promote her to panelist, in the very least, to say hello. We're glad she's with us. And we have our Community Board on Police retreat this coming weekend, this Saturday.
Awesome. Welcome, Ms. Schwartz.
Hello all, good evening. I was observing, as I guess you all knew. I wasn't sure if it was made, and then Dean said I was here, so I'm glad you all know I'm here. I guess just for public to be aware, the board expects to have some open seats beginning in January. So if people in the community are interested in learning about what the Community Board on Policing does, if they're thinking, oh, this is a way I can get involved, they can reach out to any of the board members. They can reach out to y'all and kind of ask questions, because we are going to have some spots.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. And also thank you for all that you do for the community.
To continue on that, anybody interested in volunteering, in addition to getting more information from the Community Board on Police, if they want to fill out an application form, they can go to maplewoodnj.gov/volunteer. maplewoodnj.gov/volunteer. And that is a link to our application form. There's a section there you can check off that you're interested in the Community Board on Police, and that will get forwarded to the Township Committee and some internal departments that are applicable.
Thank you. Doesn't look like there's anyone else. So, Mr. Jaffes, you had stated that you had something you wanted to bring up in closed.
Please.
So Mr. Wary, would you be able to move us into closed?
Yes, just give me a.
I move that we go into executive session.